everybody, it's Oliver's Papa. Let me turn that off. I'm a day late and $1 short on this one, but I wanted to make a video because I think that some of the people, at least that watch mine, also have commented on that Murdaugh, Alec Murdaugh murder trial, the South Carolina lawyer that has been found guilty of killing his son, youngest of two, and his wife, Maggie. I mean, what a trial. And this is how late I am. I never watched anything until the day that the verdict was read. And then I was like, the integrity and the decency that this judge was oozing, I was like, holy smokes. Okay, you know what? Went back and YouTube, I mean, obviously it's flooded with Murdaugh documentaries and bios and podcasts and you name it. One thing that I have not had anybody comment about is the bailiff that was seated behind this creature, the convicted, during the whole trial. He was sitting behind him. Obviously, he's a bailiff, so most of the time he was in uniform. But this guy was going on his days off, presumably his days off, and sitting in his seat, in his street clothes, his, regular. He wore a tie and a shirt. We could tell that he made a point to come to the trial that day. And then they'd have a different bailiff, a uniformed officer of the court. Seated behind him. And there are parts during this trial, there's times when people are being cross-examined. There are different testimony, okay? And the guy, he looks moved, angry usually. A couple times he looks sad, but when the verdict was read, and tell me if I'm missing something or if I'm wrong. When the verdict is being read, this guy was mad dogging this Murdaugh guy. I mean, mad dogging him, like mean mugging. That like he's chomping at the bit, waiting to drag this fucking guy off to jail. I mean, you could see it. And when the judge was saying, I don't know when you became the monster that you are now, or I'm paraphrasing, he's like this behind him, like nodding. He's nodding in agreement with the judge. This man was very impassioned, and I am curious. I mean, surely somebody out here has found out who he is, how long he's been working for the court. Is he a relative of Maggie? Did he go to the same school with Maggie? Like, maybe they were childhood sweethearts. I don't know. But man, this is a person who is very, very involved in this trial. And bailiffs tend to be, as a general rule, they tend to be, just even-keeled. They're there to work for his honor or her honor and do the business, help with the business of the court. There was something, this man was very passionate about what he was hearing. My interest in law goes back to, my childhood. My mother she was never a lawyer. She could have been. She could have been a great one. One of her first jobs, one of the most important job she ever had, maybe next to being a mother, was she worked for Dan, Kona, and Flom. I think I'm pronouncing the last name correctly. A LaSalle Street firm in Chicago. Sherry Rothenberg, I believe, was her boss, or the head paralegal. And back in those days, you didn't have the internet and everything. So the paralegals did footwork. They did real footwork and real research. And not that being at the computer isn't. Calm down. And I would spend, sometimes I'd go downtown with her, and I would watch trials. I'd go down to the Daily Center or to the Turks and Federal building, and I would watch trials. And there was something like, when all these other kids wanted to be policemen and firemen or whatever they wanted to be, I wanted to be an attorney. Yeah, I did. I wanted to be a lawyer. what happened to that, I'm not sure. My mother's Uncle Russell, my great uncle, was a state senator for Arkansas. He was a Blue Dog Democrat. I think he did 2 terms. I think it was 2, definitely 1, obviously. And in that part of the country, to be a Democrat at that time, I mean, it meant something. He was loved by a lot of people. He worked with everybody. His nickname was the Little Fox. They said he was just quick. He was quick, and he worked with everyone. I could go. Why not? Why not tell you a quick story? This is in Siloam Springs. If you go down there now, if you drive around Siloam Springs, I forget the intersection, but you'll see Elrod and Lee Law Firm. His name was Russell Elrod. And the Lees, I'm not sure which, there's a lot of Lees, but I'm trying to think of who they were from, where they were from. I beg your pardon. No sleep lately. Anyway, he was born in Oklahoma when it was still Indian territory. And that's where my horse riding and my knowledge of cattle auctioning and farming and all that came from going down there in the summers. So going to this region has been something that I've been doing my whole life. They would get me out of Chicagoland, and you're going to go down to Uncle Russell's, and I would accompany him to auctions, because he was also a cattle rancher. And I forget how old I was. I was young. I was in grade school still. And we went to Tahlequah, Oklahoma, the Tahlequah Indian, to where the Tahlequah Indians are. And they put me on a horse. And that horse bolted. And I rode the hell out of that horse. And the chief, he looked at my mother and Russell. And he said, "Where did you say this boy was from?" And Russell, "This is a Chicago boy. This is a city boy right there." And the Indian chief, he said, "I've never seen a child take to riding a horse like that." And my mother was like, "He must be, being kind." She goes, "What?" Because my mother knew a lot about thoroughbreds. That's a different story. He goes, "No." He goes, "Look at that." And he goes, "None of the kids that grew up here, that are growing up here now, know how to ride like that." And that began, it lasted several summers. I would go down there, and I would do whatever work I had to do to have access to that horse. And I would ride the hell out of that horse. I took that horse everywhere. I mean, it was a bond. And it did carry over to like other horses. I was good at it. It was like almost like I was a natural. Stubby legs too. I mean, stirrups way up high, and it probably looked like a jockey on some of the bigger horses. But yeah, I loved it. And so my mother had law in the family. She had law in the family. My mother, I think that at some point the firm had said, "Listen, Lynn, go to law school. We'll take care of it." And she decided, "No, I'm going to be a mother and do the family thing." And with all due respect to my late mother, who taught me a lot, like many of my more decent qualities come from my parents. But and I look back in retrospect, if I want to be an honest person, she may have thrived more if she had taken the legal job, if she'd went to law school. She was a very sharp woman. And even when she began to lose it under mental stress and illness, and she was in a lot of pain for a lot of years, she was still, her mind was like an ice pick. I mean, she was just brilliant with language and logic and anything legal, and you think, oh, yeah, okay, so she's a paralegal, she knows everything. My mother would find out, and then she would compile everything. She was great. She was great in law. So back to the Murdaugh thing. That's where my interest in this. It's not really the popular culture aspect of it, or the fanfare, or the scandal end of it. I really am interested in the legal part of it, and I just wanted to know who this bailiff was. Man, this guy, I mean, you know, it looked like he just wanted to tear this guy a new asshole. Maybe he was friends with the victims, with a few of the victims, the financial victims. But man, he was just, I mean, when the judge was like, and you're getting 2 consecutive life sentences, you know, he's like, I mean, when it was time to get, he could see him pick up your shit, let's go, pick it up, let's go. Walking him out of the court, it's like, you going to jail, bro, you going to prison. He was a serious man. Definitely, I'd like to know who he is. If anybody has a clue, let me know in the comment section. Anyway, that's about it. I'll be checking in a little later. Look at this, 10 minutes. I can't make a 5-minute video. I talk too much. God bless you. See ya.